Hi, I'm Monica Graves. I'm the mother of 8, and I have been homeschooling for 18 years. So if you clicked on this video, I assume that means that you're thinking about homeschooling. My husband's cooking breakfast in the other room, so if you hear that in the background, I'm sorry. We have a busy house with 8 kids. But I wanted to put this video out because I see so many families struggling right now because you're homeschooling, but not in your time or in your way. You're being forced to teach your kids at home via computer and maybe while you're supposed to be working. And so I wanted to encourage people, you can homeschool, and it can be cheap and it can be easy. And so in this video, I'm going to go through a couple of things. I'm going to start by telling you like how you can homeschool cheap and how to know what it is that your kids need to know at different grade levels. And it's simpler than you might think. And at the end, I'm going to talk about like how legally do you homeschool, and it's different in each state, and I will try to provide some links in the description. I will link to all these materials in the description through 2 different places. One is the CBD, which is the Christian bookstore distribution. Don't worry, these are actually all secular materials, but when I started homeschooling 18 years ago, you could not find homeschool materials hardly anywhere, and that service has tons and tons and tons of things for homeschool, and on some of the things I'm going to share with you today, they have better prices. The other link I'm going to give you is Amazon. I'm going to give you everything on Amazon. I like Amazon because they're quick, but honestly, the Christian bookstore, they're not as quick, but they just sometimes have better prices, and it's easier to find what you need on there. So let's get started. When I first started homeschooling, it was 18 years ago, so I've got 8 kids. My 3 oldest are now out of high school. We homeschool until high school. Some of those kids have gotten scholarships to college. They are functioning normally in society. They have jobs. And then we still have some that are homeschooling, and we have a couple in public high school because we choose to put our kids in public high school. And we were so poor, and we had so many kids. And I was in Costco one day, actually, and I saw this book that said, What Your Kindergartner Needs to Know. And they make what your first grader needs to know. And you can see these are very heavily used. No cover, 2nd grader, 3rd grader, 4th grader. And I believe I have up through 6th grade. I think they make them up through the 8th grade or maybe even the 9th grade. But basically, these books are broken down by subject. And so I would take these books, I would do the reading section, a little bit of that each day. I would do a little bit of history and geography each day. And I would go to the library, and whatever chapter we were learning in the library, or in this book right then, we would buy bunches of materials from the library and supplement, and we still do this. We would find documentaries that supplemented that stuff too, and we would go on field trips. And if you look on our YouTube channel, you'll find some of those field trips, and you'll find a playlist called Homeschool. I'll probably put this in it, and see some of the outings we did, because one of the reasons I homeschooled is I don't think kids remember things like science and history. I didn't, and I got great, stellar grades in high school, and I did not retain information, and I wanted my kids to retain information. And so we literally bought one book. It's less than $20, and you can buy it for each grade level, and would go through and do the things in this book. We would supplement with fun books and videos from the library and on YouTube where it was free. So they have all the different subjects they need to cover in here. They even have numbers and reading. But I'm going to talk more about teaching a child to read in a minute. And so this was what we worked off of. And so I could homeschool with no money. And so if you're thinking about homeschooling, buy this book first. Look through it. See what you think. It's a great book. It even gives you ideas on some other supplements. And like I said, they come in all different levels. So next, it's a heavy stack. Let's talk about, so you have little ones and you're scared to death. How do I teach them to read? Well, guess what? I've taught 8 kids to read, and I have 2 kids with learning disabilities. And I had to teach them to read different than the others. So I'm going to go over first how I taught the 6 to read that didn't have a disability, and then I'm going to go over the material for the kids who did have a learning disability. And so, Hooked on Phonics. I love Hooked on Phonics. Now, when I bought Hooked on Phonics 18 years ago, it came with tapes, cassette tapes, and they have flashcards. And the way it works is they first have to learn all their sounds, and they do that with their flashcards and whatnot. And then they go through, and there's a series of these large books where they learn words and helper words, and then they come with other little reading books and picture books. So when the kid gets to that page, they read the book, and it literally just walks you through step by step, and you can teach your child to read. And it is simple. You don't have to know how to teach a child to read. Hooked on Phonics is amazing. When I bought this, it was $200. I think it's actually cheaper now, and I've kind of looked it up, and I think they sell it a little differently, but I'll find some links for that, put it below. Now, if your child cannot figure out Hooked on Phonics and it's not working, or they just don't seem to be able to learn how to read, there is a book, and I want to say this is a $20 book. You can see it's been used a lot. It's called Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. And it approaches reading very differently. And it's so, you don't have to know what you're doing, because it literally has, you can see red text in there. You read that red text out loud to your child word for word while you're pointing at things and tell them what to do that it's telling you what to do. So if you just can read the red and tell your child what to do, you can teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. If you have a child that's not reading, in 3 months, you can have them reading. Now, to supplement this, there is a series of books called Bob books. And these all look beat up and worn because, as I said, homeschooling for 18 years, they've been used a lot. The Bob books are great to use with Hooked on Phonics too, or if your child already knows how to read and they're a very beginning reader, it's a great series to get. This is collection 3. I'll put these in the links too. I can't tell you how many collections there are now, but they build on one another. And you can see like book 3, book 4, book 5, and the child can just read through the book. And they're similar to Hooked on Phonics, but if you're teaching your child to read in 100 easy lessons and you want them to feel like they're reading a real book, I suggest Bob books. They're great. And they actually are very well made too. The boxes fall apart, but the books do not. They're stitched in the corners. Bob books and Hooked on Phonics, I believe, also have apps and computer programs. So if your kid loves to be online, get those programs and let that be the game that they play. Now, after we get through 100 easy lessons, children who have a reading disability, that's kind of a reading mastery approach. I'm realizing now my camera's crooked. Hopefully you can listen to that. And the reading mastery materials are very expensive. And so what we've done is we've gone on to Amazon and found used old school books that are reading mastery style and used those for the children who had reading lessons once they get out of the Teach Your Child to Read 100 Easy Lessons. I'll try to find a list of that too. Now, if you have older kids, I tried multiple writing programs for older kids, none that I've loved, and so I don't know that I'll share any of those. If you want to message me, I can tell you some that I've done. But maybe you're like, I'm not very good at spelling or grammar. How do I teach my kids? Painless Spelling and Painless Grammar. Get these books for yourself. They will help you. It's okay. You don't have to be great at things in order to teach your kids things. Part of homeschooling is teaching a child how to learn. So let's move on to math. I do have a curriculum that I love for math, and it can be bought per child. You don't have to spend $1,000 on it like some curriculums are. And I believe this is one of the things that's cheaper in the Christian bookstore distributor, but it takes a little longer to get it there. It can be harder to find what you want on Amazon, but I'll still give you links. And so this starts, I want to say, with like Saxon Math K, and then you'll see the levels that go up. And if you buy the homeschool editions, it's like $70, $80 for a set. And the set comes with the child's workbook, and then it comes with, these are so dirty, a teacher's manual, a solutions manual, and a test manual. Now, if you have multiple kids, you only have to buy the set once. And after that, you just have to buy the workbook for whatever child is in that level at that time, because you can use the other teacher's materials with it. And I like Saxon Math for the same reason, actually, that I like the whatever age child needs to know, because each book builds on the book before. So like if you do the What Your Kindergartner Needs to Know series, the first grader book is going to build on what they learned in the kindergartner book. And the second grade book is going to build on what they learned in the first grade book. Same thing with the Saxon Math. Each year it builds on what they learned before. I like the way it teaches them. My older kids literally can just go through themselves and correct it themselves. Now, if you're like, I can't fork out $70 for a big lesson and you feel confident in your math skills, then the other way that we've done Saxon Math is we have found used hardback school, because a lot of public schools will use these workbooks, and so we'll find used ones of these, it's from a school, that are cheap, and it's the exact same thing you're going to find in here. Your child just has to write on a pencil and a paper. It doesn't come with the teacher's stuff, so if you don't know math very well, you may have to look up the answers if you can't figure out them out yourself, but that's a way to do that cheaper. Another tool that's amazing is flashcards, and I don't have the box for these, but I'll link to these ones in here. And just doing flashcards with your kids a couple days a week, because one of the most important things about math is them being able to memorize their addition, their subtraction, their multiplication, and division. So flashcards are your friends. So now, I just realized I forgot to bring history down here, but for my younger kids, I really heavily use the history from these books. I supplement it with books from the library, and I will maybe even try to share some of our playlists with you. If I put this on a blog, I'll try to share our playlist for some of the different series in there. If you're interested in that, let me know. But science, I finally found a science that I loved about 5 years ago, and I kind of went through different things before then, and it's fun. It's called The Sassafras Adventures, and it is a book about a set of twins who hated science, and their uncle is this crazy scientist, and he builds these invisible zip lines for them, and they travel around the world filling out this information about animals, and they have all these adventures. And it comes with a teacher's guide that tells you if you want to do a 2-day week or a 5-day week, what to do each day of the week, what to read. It has printables in the back for things you print out for them. And then each child has a logbook. And so as they follow along in these kids' adventures, they learn the same things, and they fill out their logbook as if they are these children. With this, I also love to find documentaries on YouTube. So after we read it and go through the exercises, I put in a documentary that's interesting. So this particular one is zoology. I've got some kids in that right now. The next one I'm using is anatomy for one of my older kids. I believe they have 4 series. Now there's another set. Sometimes we use it along with this that I've heard a lot of people love. I don't use this a ton, but it's Janice Van Cleve's Science for Every Kid. And so they have biology, geography, earth science, and physics. These are full of activities that kids can do and experiments they can do to learn these different things. I think it's a great thing to use in tandem with this or in tandem with what your child needs to know. Because as I said, this has math, science, history in it. And so these are a great supplement to add there. Okay, so that is kind of the main core materials that we use homeschooling, and a great way for you to be able to homeschool cheap without buying a massive curriculum. So I am going to include a few links below of books from people who have homeschooled, just telling the benefits they found in it, because maybe you're on the fence, you're kind of thinking about it, you're not sure, you don't want to ruin your child. And so I will share that, some of the books I read before homeschooling in the link below. And if you want to connect with me and message me better, find me on Instagram, all surreal on Instagram, because that's where I'm going to answer you fastest. So legal homeschool stuff. Now this is different in every single state. But if you're thinking about homeschooling, you can't just turn off your child's computer from the remote school and start homeschooling. You actually have to register as a homeschool student. And so I'm going to try to see if I can find one database that shows all the different states. But if not, you just need to Google what your local school district board is, and you need to contact them and say, I want to homeschool, how do I register as a homeschool student? And then in Oregon, at least, where I'm at, the way that it works is every 2 years, you have to pay for your child to be tested with a specific tester. They have a list of people on our school district website and it'll be by county. In our state, it's by county. You look at your county school district and you register with them, and they give you lists of testers and resources of testers that you can use to have your child tested. Every 2 years you have to have them tested, and if they don't pass the test, they don't get sent back to school right away, which we've never had that issue. But say your child has a learning disability, they don't pass the test, they give you, you just test again in another year, and they have to have improved. Now, say your child needs extra special resources. We have a child that's on an IEP. If your child needs to be on an independent education plan, or I can't remember what the other one's called, but a specific learning plan, they need extra help, you can still get that from your public school district as a homeschool student. You just need to reach out, get them tested. You can bring them into public school a period a day or a couple hours a day, and that's what we did with this particular child. They will offer them the resources that they need if you can't handle that part, and then you can do the rest of school at home. Same thing as that, your child can still play sports. If you are a registered homeschool student, that district is still getting money for your child, and so they can register and play sports at the public school if you want them to. Oh, one other tool. If your child struggles with reading, and I'll put this down there too, these little bookmarks, they're like it just highlights the page, the line that they're on. Those are a wonderful tool. They've helped a lot with our younger daughter who struggles to read. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, how you can homeschool without spending a ton of money. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Go to the links below and look at some of the different tools that I've shared there, and good luck.